Bowen. Welcome to the Comfort, Peace, and Freedom podcast. How are you doing, pal?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Thank you, Ken, for having me on this.
Where am I talking to you today at?
Oh, well, I reside in Orlando, Florida.
Okay. And what are you up to today? You look like you're up in an attic or something somewhere over there.
Yeah, that's my office. My office does look like an attic. On the front side of my office, I got my vision board and my calendar, but the back side, I just like to have a blank slate when I'm doing videos or whatever. But no, today I was out in the sun all day. Florida sun, super hot. But you got me out of the heat, so thank you.
Very good. Well, there's a lot of good things that I wanted to talk to you about. I'm always talking about the differences between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. And I think most people understand what an entrepreneur is, somebody that owns their own company, somebody that builds something. But there's also intrapreneurs, and those are really, really important because these are people that feel like they kind of do their own thing within somebody else's company. And I'm so glad to talk to you about that because I don't get to interview many people who actually do that in a really awesome way. And I think you're one of those people. So we're going to head down that path a little bit, if you don't mind. If you could, can you tell me a little bit? You're a pipe fitter. I mean, they call you Fitter Bowen, and I love your social media. It's engaging, it's entertaining, it's fun, it's hilarious. You've built quite a little business over there representing products. I think it's fantastic. And so tell me, when you were younger, 13, 14, 15, what was your world like? I mean, how did you get to lean towards kind of a blue collar career?
Yeah, so growing up, I mean, my dad, it's funny because he doesn't necessarily work in blue collar. He worked in the car industry and he worked a lot of hours. He worked a lot of hours. He was always there for us and, provided, but he worked a lot and he worked in the car industry. And, I like that too. It wasn't bad, but I grew up playing baseball and, fishing and surfing, growing up in Florida. And the older that I got, the more I was involved with sports at school and stuff. And then I had hurt my leg. I broke my leg in high school playing. I was on the varsity baseball team and I had broke my leg and then I was out. And then after that, I kind of just lost interest in baseball and only did really good in school was so I could play sports. So then I started working and I worked at a car wash. And then I worked, I did a little garbage job for an apartment complex, because I just was trying to make money. I just wanted to make money because my dad always told me if you want to have your, freedom, you got to have money. So I always wanted to make money and I didn't really like school. So I didn't want to go to college. And my grandfather was a plumber. He was a union plumber. So he told me, hey, if you don't want to go to college, try this apprenticeship for plumbing and pipe fitting or HVAC, whichever one you want to do, and see if you like it. He's like, I think you'll be good at it. So I went ahead and I filled out an application. I got accepted. I went to the interviews. I got accepted, and then that's how I pretty much got into the blue collar field. And right out of high school, I was 8. As soon as I turned, because I graduated when I turned 17, and I barely graduated. I didn't really like. I bottom part of my class. It's not because I wasn't smart. It's just I didn't care enough about what I was learning in school. I was like, how am I going to use this to make money? You know what I mean? I just am,
Sure.
just young and didn't care about that.
So when you mentioned earlier that you didn't want to go to college. Is that because you don't really learn from books and lectures? You were more hands-on with something? I mean,
yeah.
Did you know you were going to work with your hands even way back then?
Yeah, so I was always been a quick learner, right? I always pick things up really quickly, especially if you could show me something. I always used to tell somebody, like, if you show me how to, like, the worst thing you do is show me how to do what you do because I'm going to do it better than you, and that's just how I was. I was competitive and I liked it. If I liked something and you could show me physically and I was interested, I would get good really quickly because I would get obsessed with it and I would do it every day, and so I think, when I was really young in school, the teacher said I had to do it this way, and I had to read this book, and then this had to, correlate it to this in the book. It was like just remembering stuff, and which is fine. There's not people are good at school. Like my brother's really good at school, and he works in finance now. But me, I could care less. I like to be outside. I like to be doing something, different all the time. And, I've thought about different career paths that would do that, but it's funny because the career that I'm in now, I never thought of doing when I was younger. It was only because my grandfather had said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" Because in school, they don't teach you about trades or anything like that. They teach you, go to college. Everybody's like, "Hey, what college are you going to?" Or, what program are you going to do after, school and this and that. And I'm like, when I was telling people I was doing an apprenticeship, they didn't even know what that was. And I barely knew what it was, but it got me to where I am today. And I'll do a lot better than all of my friends that went to college. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
we're definitely going to get to that, because that's you're one of the you're one of the best kept secrets out there, as am I. I mean, these types of jobs, they do amazing things. They pay amazingly well. You get to control your own schedule. There's so many benefits to it. So right out of high school, what did you decide to do then? I mean, I'm sure you were at a crossroads. I'm sure you were like, is it college? Is it high school? I mean, is it apprenticeships? That's the decision that I had to make, and I'm glad that I made the one that I did. What did you do right at high school, right when you were finished there?
So I pretty much decided that. So it's funny because we graduated high school in May, and the apprenticeship began in July. That's when the interviews were, and I turned 18 in June, so I was still 17. So I wasn't even eligible, to be a part of that yet, and because you got to be 18 and you got to have a high school diploma or a GED. And so even as I was getting close to graduation, I knew I wasn't going to go to college because that's not what I wanted to do. So I had already had that conversation with my grandfather earlier that year, to do the apprenticeship. So I had filled out the application before I was even 18. I was 17. I graduated high school. I got an interview for the apprenticeship. It was in July, so I had just turned 18, and I had got accepted to that program. It was a 5-year program, and then I started the apprenticeship in September. And green as could be, like I knew nothing about construction. I knew nothing about, I could read a tape measure like 1, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't know what an eighth or a half or 16th. I didn't know any of those.
Right.
I didn't know what certain tools were called, and I had helped my dad build stuff around the house, but it was like, holding the flashlight or, passing them tools or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was never like building stuff on my own. And the stuff that I did build was like, a skateboard ramp, and we'd put a piece of plywood on a cooler or something,
Right.
So it's not like I had this crazy drive to become a pipe fitter and that I knew about all of this stuff. And that's what I always tell people is like, I knew absolutely nothing. So I know that if I can do it, I mean, anybody else can do it as well. So now I always recommend it to people that don't want to go to college because you can make a good living doing it.
Well, that's such a great point. I've always said that by the time you put your feet on the floor in the morning when you get up out of bed, to the time you go to your office or your job site or your church or your school, whatever, you're crossing 10,000 blue collar jobs that are still viable today. And when I mean viable, I mean extremely financially rewarding today, right?
Oh, yeah.
So half the country, of the 167 million people that are fully employed in the United States, half of them work with their hands to this day. So I think that's what people don't understand is that, the college route has always ever been one of 5 or 6 ways to get to where you want to go. Apprenticeship, a tech or trade school, a military career, going to college, working right out of high school. It's always ever been one path. So I love what you just said, because you said people didn't even know what an apprenticeship was. So can you kind of describe your experience going through the apprenticeship? Because there might be some person out there, and I don't care whether they're 18 or 35, and maybe they made the wrong decision to go to college and now they're at some sales job that they hate and they want to go back and follow your path. What's it like to go through an apprenticeship for someone that might be listening right now?
Yeah, so to me, an apprenticeship is the best thing you can do. And it doesn't matter what you decide to do, but if you can get into an apprenticeship, especially with the blue collar trades, so the apprenticeship that I went through was a 5-year program. So you have a first year apprentice, a second year apprentice, all the way up to 5th year. and then you turn out as a journeyman. You're certified in that, that trade. So the pipe fitters apprenticeship that I went through, it's an apprenticeship at Local 803. It's a union hall. And what they do is you get in your first year, you got to initiate. And this is the craziest part to me is, colleges cost so much money. Even trade schools cost so much money. This apprenticeship that I went through cost me $193. And that's it. And that just covers the book.
Wow.
And you go 2 times. I mean, different apprenticeships, do it differently. But the one that I did, we went 2 nights out of the week for 3 hours a night. And basically an apprenticeship is you're working in the field that you want to master, right? So
Sure.
you get put with the journeyman. So first year apprentice, it sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, it sucks. You're going to do everything that nobody wants to do,
Sure.
right? That's the whole job. You're going to get you picked on, name call. I mean, they make it tough for sure. And that's one of the harder parts of the game is the mental thing. People are going to get under your skin. They're going to send you looking for things that aren't real, and so there's going to be plenty of days where
Sounds like the military. Sounds like a boot camp or something like that, right?
The blue collar brotherhood, the blue collar lifestyle. It's definitely, it'll make your skin grow thicker. You'll be tougher, for sure, both mentally and physically. But yeah, the first year apprenticeship, you're digging holes. That's all I did was for the first year was dig holes. And I'm thinking we're going to weld pipe and we're going to do all this cool stuff that, people talk about. No, you're digging holes, you're getting material, you're doing all the hard stuff. And
but you're getting paid though, right? I mean,
oh yeah, 100%. That's the thing about an apprenticeship. I forgot to mention, you're getting paid the entire time. So when you get accepted to the apprenticeship, they're gonna find you at least for the union that I was in. They find you a job with a contractor, and so you go out as a first year apprentice. You get a journeyman. That journeyman then is able to teach you on the job experience, in field experience, and so. A normal work schedule for us and like many blue collar people is 7 to 3:30, right? So after 3:30 comes across, depending on what day it is, then you would go to class for 3 hours. So class starts at 5, from 5 to 8, you do your class. And then that's pretty much how the apprenticeship works. And you do that for 5 years.
And that's that's 2 nights a week, right?
Right. And it's 2 nights a week. And I know different places do it differently, but each year you get a pay raise and you get, leveled up to the next year apprentice and the next year apprentice until your 5th year. So each year you're getting a raise and until you get to that journeyman level. But you're also, the best part about the apprenticeship is you're learning on the job. And, there's no, like my wife always says, there's no substitute for experience. And there's really not,
Right.
So the best way to learn is in the field. Like you're going to learn things in school for sure. But what you learn in school is if it was a perfect world, right? So what you're learning in the field is real life situations, and that's where you really learn. And so that's why I always recommend the apprenticeship to people is because, if you want to get into the blue collar trade, you go to a trade school, which is fine, and you learn your trade, but now you got to get experience. So sure. It's almost like going to college, you got your degree, but you have no experience, so doing an apprenticeship, you're able to get your experience, get your degree or get your title. And so you're already in the door, you're already in the game. And so you're building relationships, you're learning. And the apprenticeship is a no-brainer. And like I said, nobody knew what an apprenticeship was then, even in the blue collar world, like nobody heard about it. So
well, the best part about that, the best part about that is you're getting paid to learn versus paying to learn, right?
Exactly.
So, if you have somebody out there who doesn't really know why they're going to college, but everyone says I have to, and they're paying 40, 50 grand a year for that, that's 200,000 at the end of the 4 years, where you probably made 200,000 by the time your 4 years were up or more. And that, so that could be a $400,000 swing over a period of time. So let me ask you this. What did some of your friends and some of your teachers or some of your parents, was there kind of like did they accept what you wanted to do by going into this apprenticeship, or did they kind of look sideways at it because you weren't going to college? What was the attitude about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a kind of, typical, you know, suburban neighborhood. Is that what you would call it? That's like
Sure.
and I think that's the term. I'm sorry.
Right.
But yeah, so everybody I knew was going to college. So when I told people, oh, I was going to be a pipe fitter or a welder, their parents would say, "Oh, that's what my dad did," or "That's what my mom, my grandfather did." It was almost like an elder thing. Like that's what they used to do. So but they said, "Hey, those people make a good living." So but we didn't know that, but our parents and our people older than us knew about it, but then they never told us to do that. They told us to go to college. So a lot of people were like, they didn't really care too much about it because they didn't think, they were more excited about going to college and focused on what other people were doing. Nobody really cared as much as when I said, "Oh, I'm doing an apprenticeship." But a couple years down the road now, out of all the people that my friend group that I grew up with, and I'm the first one to purchase a house, and I'm the first one to get a new truck, and I'm the first one that to do a
Wow.
bunch of things, and
Wow.
then they really start to notice, like, wow, like how are you doing this? And then they realize, and I think everybody's really starting to realize now with social media and everything, the word's kind of getting out there that, hey, the world is built by hardworking men and women in the blue collar world. We keep it running, and the amount of people that are retiring and the amount of people that are coming into this, there's a huge window of opportunity right now. And I think a lot of people need to know that, especially the younger generation, because you can easily get in right now and you can easily find work. I mean, the country is building all the time. They're never going to stop building.
Right.
And they need people, they need tradesmen and tradeswomen, and they always will, and they always have. So, but even more than ever, right now, I think is a great time for everybody. If you want to get in, you can get in right now. There's so much work and there's so much need. So many people are retiring. More people are retiring than are coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's a statistic out there that I talk about in my book Blue Collar Cash that I think is really important, and that is for every 10 contractors that are retiring, only 4 or 5 are replacing them. So if you think about it in those terms, for every 100 guys or gals that retire, only 40 or 50 are coming on. Every year that happens, or every month that happens, or whatever, every quarter, whatever time frame you want to put on it, we're behind the 8 ball as far as supplying those people. And you and I both know that where supply and demand, it's an efficient system. It works pretty well. So where supply is low, in this case, people willing to do what you and I do, and demand is high, that's where the money goes. Okay. Which is why you're seeing a lot of these wage increases going on for people doing the things that we do. So why do you think, when I grew up, there was shop class in high school. Okay.
Right.
You could walk down the hallway and you could see someone working on a transmission for an old Mustang, or you could see someone cutting someone's hair, or you could see somebody cooking something or welding something or building a table out of wood or whatever, right? Wiring an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took those classes out of high school and they replaced them with computers, which is fine. I mean, we all needed to learn computers. I
Right.
argue, why couldn't we have had both of those things, right? So where do you think, in talking to your friends and whatnot, I mean, I know that they realize now that, wow, he's got his own house, he's got a new pretty kick-ass pickup truck, he's doing these great things. When did the light bulb go off for them? Is it just because they didn't see what their future looked like, or you did, or where did the stigma come from? Well, I have to go to college. I mean, or else. And you made that different decision. Why do you think that stigma is still there?
Like you said, I mean, when I was in high school, I mean, which wasn't even that long, I graduated in 2013. And that is the same year that I got into the apprenticeship. And now it's 2023. So I put 10 years into this trade already. And if I had known before graduating, like if there were classes in high school that I could have taken for, welding or for, mechanics or for anything, just something that I wanted to build with my hands,
Sure.
I would have taken it. I would have totally taken it. And I think a lot more people would have too. But like you said, that it was replaced by technology, which is fine. Like we do need technology, but they geared it towards even in yeah, I remember even in high school, all the programs that they offered you were programs to go to college. They were never programs to go to trade school, or they were never programs to any type of blue collar life. They were programs geared towards college. And so I think that, bottlenecked everybody into going in that direction. And so, with a few of us that had, whether it be family members that had told us about the trade or whatever, branched off and went to go do that. And then later on down the road to realize that, that college way is just, it's so inflated now that there was a huge opportunity that was missed for a lot of people. And not to say that they can't do it now. I mean, you can always, switch
Sure.
trades or careers or whatever you want to do. But I think it all starts in school, public school for sure. The teachers, all of that, they it's just like the world wanted more people in college, and they wanted more people to go in that direction. There was never you never heard about, oh, Johnny's going to go be a welder or a carpenter, or electrician or lineman or anything like that. You never heard about that, and now I feel like just now, like even us having this podcast, even you notice now there's this huge demand for blue collar workers. And I feel like now people are getting that opportunity that was missed. I feel like there was a good 10 or 15 years where there was that window where we needed to start filling those positions. And now it's not that it's too late, but now we really need them.
So if you had to talk to one of those kids, I can remember when I was younger, or when I first was, working in creating this book and the idea for the book, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I can remember going into a car rental company because my car needed to be fixed, and they had to rip the whole dashboard out, and so I had to rent a car because it was going to be a long time. And this gentleman came out from behind the desk, and he was, early 20s, and he had a 3-piece suit on, and he was trying to make it work. You know what I mean? He was trying to put the image out there for the rental car company. And I had to wait a while. So we had a conversation about how we got into this job and whatever, because I was doing kind of a little mini research for the book. And I remember him saying, I wanted to be a carpenter, and my parents said I had to go to college because everybody else was. And now I owe $80,000 in debt. And I'm sitting here working at this car rental place, making $28,500 a year. And he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, when do I get to live my life? Okay. When do I get to start living my life? So you probably know some people out there. How do you feel about some of those kids that just got sold down the river of all the debt and have a degree that they aren't even using?
Yeah, I think it's a terrible waste of potential, because everybody has potential, and I'll listen to anybody. I learn from everybody. I learn from the apprentices that I work with, and just anybody I'll listen to. I give you the time of the day. So I think that there was, for those people that are in those situations, it sucks, but I mean, of course you can get out of it, but they were definitely steered, they were sold a dream that wasn't theirs, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem, is they never really got a chance to see what else was out there. And luckily enough for me, like I got a taste of being able to do something like that because my grandfather did it, so he was able to kind of explain it to me. But if I didn't have that, golly, I don't know where I would be, because I tell people all the time, like, if I knew this was a route, I would have told all my buddies about it. I would have told, everybody who I was with, that how great it can be and how great that it is. And, but even only reason I knew was because my grandfather had been in the trade, and he told me that I could do that, and I wanted to make money. So I chose that, and I just happened to, really like it. I actually really like what I do, and I go to work every day, and I'm excited. I do something new every day, and what we do matters. Like we're the whole world is, it's not powered by pipes, but power runs through the pipes, right? So it
Sure.
contains it all. So we are very, as a pipe fitter or a pipe welder, we're a big part of the world's infrastructure. Same with linemen and electricians and carpenters. I mean, it builds society. It holds the country together. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that enough. And they're starting to now, but even when I really think about the stuff that we work on, whether we're working at hospitals, we're working on, water treatment plants for the city, or we're working on, theme parks, or, if we're working on some Air Force base, or, at NASA, or anywhere that's, bigger than I am, it's like, wow, like I'm doing something great here. And it may not seem like it at the time when you're working, it might suck, but after you get done and see what you built, it's like, who knew that this was possible? Like, I didn't know. And so I think a lot of people that missed out on it, they were just sold a dream that wasn't theirs, and it was college. And for some people it may have worked out, but I think for the majority of them, I don't think it paid off as much.
So let's assume now that you have the chance to go back to, I don't know, your high school, or you get to go speak in front of the administrators of 500 high schools. Okay. And
Right.
maybe there's a couple thousand teachers in the audience. Okay. What would you say? What advice would you give, knowing the experience that you went through? Because your experience is the exact same experience I went through. I'm a ditch digger. Okay. I grew up in the ditch digging business. So from the time I was 15, we dug up old, wet, smelly basements and jacked up houses and took the basements out and put new basements in, set the houses back down. We did sump pumps and drainage ditches, and we did jackhammers and concrete and everything, right? So, and that's still my core business today. So knowing the experience that you had, because it's easier for a younger person to say, hey man, I just went through this, and there's an issue here, than it is for even someone like me to bring it to light, although I'm trying to do it every day. What would you say in front of all of those teachers, if you were standing on stage, and all those school administrators, about the experience that you went through and what they should be doing in the future?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I have spoken to the director of the apprenticeship local that I went to, and I told him that I would like to actually go to some of these high schools and take a few of the young guys like me that are in the trade and very successful, and go and speak and give our experience, because we're proof. The proof is in the pudding, that you don't have to go to college, and we're still young enough that we can relate with the high school students. I'm only 28. I know that's 10 years from 18, 17, 16 people that are in high school, but we're still young enough for them to connect and to relate to them. And so I really would like to do that soon, and I hope that I can. But I would pretty much, show them, or let them know that, that college isn't the only way, and that I was just like you guys, man. Like, I didn't like school. I played sports, and I skipped class, and, I had fun, growing up as a kid. Like, I wasn't focused on what college I want to go to or anything like that. Like, even though they were telling me to do that, that's not what I wanted to do. And, I would make it certain that these kids know, and that these teachers know, that, hey, look at Ronnie, or Connor, or whoever, look at what he's accomplished in his life. And just because he's digging ditches, or he's welding pipe, or whatever, or he's dirty, or he wears a construction t-shirt, that doesn't mean he's poor or anything less in society. He's
Sure.
actually, he's actually well off, and he has a great, career. He has retirement, he has benefits, and he has skills that he's acquired that he can use anywhere in the world. He doesn't have to work here. If he wants to go work in another state or another country or wherever, he has skills that are tangible. Like, these skills are, I know how to build this, right? It's not just like a resume. And I think it's so interesting when people tell me that they are going to a job interview and they have to bring a resume. And to me, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't, because as a welder, when we go to another job, I have to take a weld test. I have to physically prove that I know how to weld this piece of pipe and that it looks good and that it's going to pass X-ray. That's my resume. You know,
Right.
and then it's
Right.
the same thing with other trades. They have to prove that they know their craft. So I think when you can show somebody what you can do in person, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this says here, oh, he's got this degree, he's got this, and then they gotta, hope that you can get the job done. No, you're actually going, I'm taking a test, I'm showing you what I can do. And they take that as, wow, it's automatic, we can rely on this guy, hired. And so it's a lot easier to go to get, I'm sorry, it's a lot easier for you to work where you want to work or when you want to work or have your own business, for instance, because what you do is tangible. It's not on a piece of paper.
So do you think the teachers would listen to what you're saying? Do you think you could change their opinion? And do you think maybe some of them might feel bad because they knew that they had some Ronnie Bowens in their hands, and yet they steered them towards college anyway? You know what I'm saying? Do you think you could
Yeah.
spin them? You think you could spin their opinion?
I mean, I think I think of myself as a pretty good salesperson, but no, see. I think what the issue is not necessarily to make them, want to promote only the trades. But I
No,
mean, you
no,
could,
sure.
definitely promote college for the kids that want to go to college and promote the trades. So it's definitely on the teacher's part to understand their students and
Right,
understand what they're interested in and stuff like that, and to let them know that there's other things, right?
right,
So I think the biggest issue is, and I think that they would all agree, is let's not tell our kids that the only thing they can do is go to college, right? Let's not tell them that the only thing that there is to do is to become an engineer. Let's not tell them that the only thing that there is to do is to be a teacher or whatever it is. Like, let's let them know that, hey, there's so many things out there for you to do. And so you may not know what you want to do right now, but I'm letting you know that if you don't want to go to college, there's another way for you to have a successful life, a prosperous life. And I think they would totally be on board with that. And on top of the PowerPoints that I would bring with it, they would love
yeah.
it.
Well, again, teachers are the greatest people in our nation. I mean, they definitely have their work cut out for them. They're trying to mold all these young people and get them ready for society. And then many times they do the parents' job too, which is sad because parents are supposed to do the parenting, and teachers are sometimes stuck doing that, and they are the unsung heroes in this whole process. And I would venture to say that many of those teachers would say, well, the parents want me to prep their child for college because that's what the parents think is the best route. And you and I both know now that, and we've known for quite a while that it isn't the best route. So I do believe that the parents have to hear this message as well, so they can work with the teachers to say, hey, I think I have one child that's going to be a surgeon. I think I have one child that's going to own their own bakery, but they're both going to be successful, and who cares, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's between the parents and the teachers to kind of realize, we have to get back to the middle. This pendulum has swung so far to one way, college only. We got to get back to the middle, because that's what makes sense for the balance of our country, and also for our young people who are going through these things. So I want to just do one other thing here before we get to some of the other stuff that you do. By the way, you have something on your Instagram that talks about witching water. Okay. We do that all the time. So when I saw that, I was like, I can't believe he's talking about witching water, because that happens for us. You're out in the country. The plans for these houses don't even exist anymore. They're hundreds of years old. And yeah, so we go out, and there's times where we'll take those things and we'll witch water, and it works. It actually, it's something about the magnetic pull of water through the pipe that creates that. And for those of you that saw his Instagram, that is a fact. Witching water does work. So you have positioned yourself as an intrapreneur, and I want to talk about this because this is a word that's a newer word. Everyone knows what an entrepreneur is, But an entrepreneur is a very interesting thing, because in my business, I decided to create as many entrepreneurs around me. I started the company from 6 people, and now I have 200. And I had to surround myself with a lot of people that were talented and intelligent and independent thinkers. And I wanted them to feel like they ran their own division, they ran their own department. They could make their schedule, they could make their time, their day, their work. They could see over the financials of their particular departments and what have you. Tell us about that, because you are an entrepreneur the way you've described it to me. You work for another company, but you kind of run your own show. Tell us about how that works for you.
Okay, yeah. So entrepreneur is funny. I never heard that term, and it totally makes sense on what it is. And I definitely am that. But I think that, you aren't you that's not something that is just like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I think it's just the type of work ethic or the personality that you have, as to where the work that I'm doing, it represents who I am, right? And so in a blue collar world, in a trade world, everything that we build it has our name on it. So when you start doing things good and over, and you're consistent, you're reliable, you show up on time, people start respecting you, and they give you this kind of power that you feel that, okay, these people trust what I'm doing, they trust what I'm telling them. And so it makes you feel more important, whether it's their tactic or not, it works. And so I think making somebody feel important is the key to creating an entrepreneur, because when they feel important, they feel what they say is valued. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my light cut off on. 1 second.
No
I
worries.
got these, hold on, man. Jeez. There we go. That one won't turn off. I got these smart lights in here, man. There it goes. Anyways, I'm sorry. Turn this back off. But as I was saying, the entrepreneur, the company or whoever you're working for makes that person feel important. And so, but it takes a while to get to that, right? There's a lot of trials, and there's a lot of proving yourself to get that feeling of importance, of being valuable. And so, like I said, the work that we do, it has our name on it. So being able to be good at what I do, and then on top of that, show what I do, because the work that I'm doing, like I said, is tangible. You're seeing the work that I'm doing. So you start to develop, like you're saying, what entrepreneurs have is they have this mindset that, even though I'm working for this company, the work that I'm doing it's my work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's where the power is at. And so you, like myself, and I like to surround myself with people like that as well. And the same goes for my apprentices. I make my apprentice feel like he is equal to me. Like, what you say matters. If you have an idea, even if I know a better way to do it, but you come up with an idea on your own, I'm just gonna listen to you, and we're gonna do it, just so you feel like what you did was right and what you did mattered. And so it gives you more confidence in yourself, and it allows you to think. And that's what I like to have. I like to have people around me that are thinking about, okay, how are we going to get this done? How can we do this better? How can we do this faster? And so I think I don't know if you can necessarily teach that to somebody, but I definitely have that trait. And I think, being good at what you do, and then being an entrepreneur, like you're saying, working for a company, but, displaying your own work, it really allows you to expand your relationships, expand your connections, and just really prosper in the company that you're working for, because it's a win-win situation. They're getting great work out of you. They have a great worker, but on top of that, you're getting what you want, and you're able to, get experience and just become a better at your position, or better at your job. So it's a win-win. But there does come a time, I will say, there does come a time where, you have been working for somewhere for a certain amount of years or something. You have to pay attention to the work that you're doing and the work that you're being paid for, because everybody, just because the company takes care of you doesn't necessarily mean that they can't take care of you more. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
there comes a time in I think every tradesman's career or every employee's career where they start to exceed their value. And so the companies need, if you work for a company and they don't recognize that, then it's time to have those conversations where, hey, this is what, you guys offer me, or this is what I offer you guys, or what can you guys offer me? Because it's getting to, and I think, the good companies, they notice that, they notice their employees, their entrepreneurs that are in their company, and they help them, and they do more for them, and that's just going to happen naturally.
And that's a great point. And I want to stop you there. I'm interrupting you, but I want to stop you there for a reason. So for everyone out there listening, you just heard a true entrepreneur, because not only was Ronnie saying that he gets to control his own time and schedule, and he gets to control the job, and he gets to control the quality. He gets to teach some of the people that he wants around him. He gets to work with his own tools and his own truck. He gets to do these things, whether the company helps provide them or not. Not only that, but he also recognizes that he understands the value within himself and within the company, and he understands that he has worth. And if that gets to a point where he believes that that worth should be compensated differently or in addition to what it is, he's willing to step up and say, I think as a partner with you within this company, that I would like to propose this idea for creating more value for you and for myself within this company. And that's the best part about it. So everyone, I'm so glad that you went off on that piece, Ronnie, because that's so important. In a true entrepreneur relationship, you can say to your employer, if I go out and create X value more, will you share some of that value with me? And I don't know any employer who wouldn't do that, because they're not spending the money they currently are. They're spending newfound money that, people like you are helping to create. So that is really an awesome point. So let's move on to this piece. We have just a few minutes left. So if you don't mind, everyone out there, they all want to know, okay, well, what's in it for you to do this? Okay. So if you don't mind, how have you rewarded yourself? I mean, you're 28, you own your own house, you have a new pickup truck. Tell us how you reward yourself in a way. I mean, I'm sure that people might not be expecting some of the numbers you might be telling them and how lucrative it is. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
As far as like the like my wages and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, how much?
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Position make?
No, that's not a problem because I'm through the union, so I do my wage is negotiated now that I've gotten to a certain point, but there's a baseline for journeyman that they all have. So we're out in Florida where we're at, a union pipe fitter. The total package deal that we have is $45.67 an hour. And so that includes your benefits and also your retirements because it's through the union. So you have a pension, you got a local pension and a national pension.
Okay.
But yeah, for $45 and some change an hour, blue collar worker, so I know, so I know a lot of people that, went to college and spent tons of money for a degree, and they might be breaking $25 an hour. And, it's not bad. Everybody starts somewhere, but the most that I had ever made an hour, we were working on a government job. So now keep in mind that this was, it was a government job, and we were working 7/12s, and we were making $80 an hour. So that was, wow. It was insane, and it was an outage. So, and they pay these really high prices for these really skilled tradesmen to get these jobs done in a time frame that needs to be done.
Sure.
So if we're working on a powerhouse for the government or a powerhouse for the city or the state or whoever, there's a time where that place needs to be maintenance or maintained, right? So they're going to shut it down. And for, let's just say 7 days, it could be longer than that, some over a month long or longer. The plant's going to be shut down for that long. Well, when the deadline comes, that place has to be back up and running because it provides power, it creates money, it creates some type of infrastructure for something. So when it's not running, it's losing money. So they bring in the best of the best guys they can find, the best welders, the best pipe fitters, the best electricians, the best carpenters. And for that duration that you're working that turnover, that outage, you're going to be making top dollar. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that is, like I just said, in town, we're making 45, 67 an hour, blue collar. And when we work outages, we're making up to $80 an hour. And, when you work 7/12s, I mean, yeah, it sounds like a lot of working, but you typically the guys doing it and like what they do. So, and you're with your buddies, I always tell people I would rather do a really bad, like terrible, working somewhere really terrible with my buddies than working in somewhere very easy with people I don't like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and
so,
also look at it this way, for the people listening out there. So you're in a position where you're making between $500 and $1,000 a day in those scenarios. I mean, that's just incredible. And so how are you spending your money? I mean, what are you doing to have fun? What kind of things do you do when you're on your downtime?
Yeah. So so when you're working those 7/12s, we're not really spending too much money.
Right.
But definitely after that, I mean, just like anybody else, right? We want to have nice stuff. We're going to buy nice clothes. We're going to buy boats or four-wheelers or stuff that, we're going to have fun with, trucks, modifications for your trucks. And that is the biggest problem is, having that financial discipline with all this money, because that's one thing about blue collar workers. Not all of them have that financial discipline.
Absolutely.
And that's something that there's definitely an area where that could be taught for sure, because you got these blue collar guys, like I said, we're making a bunch of money. Yeah, we're going to buy trucks. We're going to buy big wheels and tires for our trucks. We're going to buy boats. We're going to go on vacations. I like to go on vacation, and it's just, we want to take time off work too. Maybe we work a bunch of hours and now we're going to take off a month or two because we can. We'll do stuff like that, especially if we're working 7/12s like crazy. But
so you say you'll take off a month sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So one time I took off 3 months and I traveled the country and with a camper with me and my wife, and I spent all my money, but I came back and I got right back in it. That's the good thing about being in a trade is
right.
We have the term drag up. It means quit. So we'll drag up and we'll go do it, whether it's going to another job or just gonna go try something, take some time off. And so, but the good thing about having the crafts and the skills of a trade is it doesn't matter where you are. Let's say you run out of money and you left Florida and now you're in Texas. Well, you just go, the industry, the trade. You can go say, hey, I know how to weld or I know how to do this. They're going to hire you and they're going to pay you, good money. And so that's what's great about that. But yeah, I mean, I now that I have 2 kids, I got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. I got a stay-at-home wife, so I kind of take care of them. And nice. I'm trying to be more financially disciplined now. Like I said, I would like to start my own business, and that way I can have all the pie and not just a piece of it.
Sure. Well, good for you. I got to tell you, this has been, we started, this has been 50 minutes already, and I could go for 2 more hours with you. It's been fantastic. So I really appreciate what you've done. Most people don't understand that there's, and this is one of my next questions, which is why I'm so happy that that you brought it up. Most people don't understand that beyond the money, there's so many non-money things, benefits for working in the trades and having being in a position where you can kind of do your own thing like you do. You get to control your input, your output, the quality of your output. You get to control your day, your time, your schedule. You get to control your time off. You get to control your financial gain in many cases, and you get to control what your future looks like. And you don't get that in a cubicle on some 15th floor in some building somewhere a lot of times. So I applaud what you've done. I'm so proud of what you've done. You don't need me to say that to you, but I'm here saying it to you because I've walked that
Thank you.
walk that you're walking. And so I always, first off, where can people find you? Your Instagram is fantastic. It's like I said, it's funny, it's creative. There's lots of cool things on there that people can go see. You represent some clothing lines and some tool lines and some other things, which is really cool. Where do people go find you?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Instagram at Fitter Bowen. I also do TikTok. Same thing at Fitter Bowen. I was doing a YouTube series and I was trying to make educational videos, but it just takes too much time. YouTube is a serious game that people play, and
Yeah,
I'm either all in or all out. So I couldn't do it. I tried, and I was all in, and you'd be surprised how many hours it takes to make a 10-minute video.
exactly. So at Fitter Bowen, as in pipe fitter Bowen, which is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And so again, one of the things that I talk about in the book, and by the way, I built a specific course for blue collar workers or people who want to be blue collar workers. And I built this course to teach them how to budget, how to see what they want their life to look like, how to forecast, how to look at the future, how not to just wait for Friday and live their life long term, how to draw, like you have your vision board, how to draw vision boards so that you can say, I'm going to go after all these pieces of my life, one piece at a time. And I can see you looking at it up on the wall. I have mine up on the wall as well. Vision boards are unbelievably important. And I wish I had more time to talk about that as well, because that would be a whole nother subject. But really, really great stuff today. So we'll exchange so we can share each other's information, and
Okay.
I'll be happy to share with what we've talked about today with everybody, and you can share some of the stuff that I've done, because we're in the same boat here, and I love that. So
Definitely.
tell me about one thing in the book, Blue Collar Cash. I talk about comfort, peace, and freedom, which is really like the nirvana that all of us should be chasing, because we each have our own version of what that is, our own picture, our own vision board. So where's Fitter Bowen when he's his most comfortable? Where are you at?
So most comfortable, I'm definitely at the beach. I'm definitely on the boat. I have a boat. I'm either at the beach or on the boat. I'm near the water. That's where I'm most comfortable. But I think for me, I'm just going to elaborate on that a little bit more. Comfortability is more than just where I'm at. It's a whole bunch of stuff, right? It's not having to worry if my bills are paid or anything like that, or if my health is good. Like,
Right.
it's a bunch of stuff. So,
Absolutely.
comfortability,
Perfect.
it's a big thing. So I think, but as far as a place, definitely by the ocean or out on the boat.
Now you and me both. I do Florida in the winter, and I do Ohio in the summer, and I'm near the water on both of those occasions on my boat. So we're in the same boat there, literally. So what about, where are you the most peaceful? Where does Ronnie Bowen say, you know what? This is really cool. This is really chill. This is where I'm at my most peaceful.
It's funny that you say that, because I'm always reflecting. I consider myself a deep thinker. My wife will say the same thing. But I tend to I practice trying to be peaceful whenever, it could be after a workout and I'm sitting down and drinking my protein shake and it's just quiet. That's peaceful to me. Or if I come home from work and, I crack open a beer or something, I sit on my front porch, like that's peaceful to me. So I don't think peaceful is one place. It's definitely a mindset.
It
And
is.
it's usually whenever I feel accomplished. Whenever I feel like I've accomplished something, there's that peaceful that follows right behind it.
Awesome. And then finally, where do you feel the most freedom? Like everything is, nothing matters. I'm in this place, I'm doing this thing. Where do you feel like you are the most free, and what might make you feel that way?
Oh man, the most freedom. Um, Golly, that's a hard one. The one thing that comes to mind is, and I'll never forget it, we hiked in California in Yosemite, and we hiked over by Half Dome. And that when I was up there, it was, for some reason, that just comes to mind whenever I think of freedom. It really put into perspective everything around me. But I think it's just, but also at that point I wasn't working. I was, like I said, I had took time off work.
Yeah.
So freedom is definitely being able to do what you want, when you want, and having nowhere else to be.
Amen. Amen to all that. So, Fitter Bowen, I really enjoyed this conversation today.
Oh, me too, Ken.
Yeah,
Me too.
I'm so glad that that we could get this put together. And again, look for him at Fitter Bowen on all the socials, and follow him. And he's going to be a successful. He already is a successful guy, but he's going to be really successful in the future, I guarantee you. And if you want to see how it's done, just look towards Fitter Bowen. He'll show you how to do it. Thanks again. Thanks for being there. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Ken.